Yo, what is going on, Nitrosites? It is your boy, the Nitro General here, back at it again for a brand new video. In today's video, guys, we are actually going to be going over all the buffs and debuffs that all the strategies and all the Pokemon got from previous generations, right? All other Pokemon before Scarlet and Violet, any Pokemon that got any difference, we're going to be talking about that, and difference to the competitive scene that has changed in these new games. Basically, we're just going to be going over here that I found on this website, so I'll link it down below if you guys do want to look at it for yourself. There is quite a bit here, but we're going to go over all of it, talk about what I think is the best and what I do not like, since there's a little bit of both. But before we get into this, I know I haven't been posting videos a ton lately, and I do apologize. I'm not quitting. I'm still here. I'm actually going to start recording videos again, probably at the very beginning of January. So we're going to start right off in the new year strong with a new schedule and everything. I'm hoping to record an update video here for you guys soon, so make sure you guys keep your eyes out for that, because we're going to be talking a little bit of how things are going to be going. But yeah, if you guys are excited for this video, make sure you leave a like down below and subscribe if you guys are new. I do a lot of other stuff here on the channel too, including competitive Pokemon content, Nuzlocke, all that stuff. So make sure you guys leave me check that out. And of course, if you guys do want to support, the biggest thing that you can do to help is, of course, just watching the video in its entirety. Just put me on in the background, do some other stuff, hang out, chill, whatever you guys want to do. Listen to me talk about competitive Pokemon. But yeah, so without further ado, I do just want to get into this video. Don't want to make this too long. I do want to know what your guys' thought is down below on everything that happens in this video. So make sure you guys are leave me comments down below of what you think. What Pokemon you think are going to be better, what Pokemon you think that are going to get worse, all that stuff, because I genuinely want to know what you guys think. So yeah, genuinely do. You might shed some light on a subject that I might not realize, and on the basic level. So yeah. Before we get into this, obviously, I do want to talk about the two big things that have changed in this generation, which the one big thing is that there is no longer hail. It has been replaced by something called Snowscape, which, honestly, I like better than hail. It's no different than regular hail, except for the fact that you do not take any damage from the hail. There is literally no other, other than the fact that all ice types get a 30% defense buff in the snow, just like rock types get a defense buff in the sand. Other than that, there's really nothing different. Snow warning still says up the snow instead of the hail, and it sounds more accurate now. It also does everything else, right? Slush Rush works the same, Ice Body works the same, anything like that. Aurora Veil still can only be set up in the snow. Anything that had the word hail in it was just replaced by snow. And honestly, I like that better. I think it's going to work out better. Sand is now the only weather that hurts you. So, unless you have dry skin in the sun, I still believe that hurts you, I think, if I'm right. I can't remember. But yeah, that. And then also the other thing that is big that has changed is the fact that Stall has been nerfed. And if you guys know anything about me, you know I am a huge fan of not stall in Pokemon. I cannot stand stall. It is my least favorite strategy. I cannot stand people who stall constantly, especially of the toxic stall variety. And they made it very hard to do that. In the fact that a lot of Pokemon that got access to toxic and stuff like that do not get access to it anymore. As well as a lot of Pokemon who got access to oh, don't want to go down yet. Got access to Sun, do not get access to it anymore. Or Sun. Heal, do not get access to it anymore. So, or, it's just been buffed. I think they could have done it in a different way, with just making, you not being able to heal twice in a row, not being able to use Toxic and Wish back to back, Protect and Wish. They could have done it in a different way, but I kind of understand why they did it the way that they did it, because if you're gonna stall, if somebody wants to stall, they're gonna do it regardless of trying to do it. So getting rid of it entirely basically makes it so people can't find a loophole in it. So let me know what you guys think about that down below. But without further ado, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of this video. So the first thing up on here is Scald is now the signature move to Volcanion, which has Steam Eruption anyways. No one else learns it via level up and loses it. We'll talk about a lot of this stuff, right? Obviously, the fact that Scald is no longer being able to be put on another Pokemon is really weird to me, since it has nothing to do with stalling or really anything like that. Honestly, Scald was a huge staple of competitive play since its introduction. I don't really understand why Scald was gotten rid of on all these Pokemon, and honestly, it makes a lot of Pokemon like Slowbro and Gastrodon a lot worse. Now, I personally I prefer to run Hydro Pump on Gastrodon, so I mean, a lot of these Pokemon do get access to other special type water moves, so at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, but it does suck that a lot of Pokemon don't get access to it. And I think it does make a lot of Pokemon worse in the sense that they might have been able to use Scald and don't. And nobody's going to run Scald on Volcanion anyways, which it has Steam Eruption. Nobody's going to do that, right? It's Volcanion, for God's sake. You use Steam Eruption. Okay, so Recover, Roost, Slack Off, and such had the PP reduced from 10 to 5 by default, meaning 16 to 18 max, which I like in the sense that it makes it so you can't heal quite as much. That's kind of crazy that, you know, 5, you can only do it 5 times is kind of crazy, but you know, it is what it is. I think that it'll end up being better off in the long run. I don't know the last time that I clicked. Honestly, the only other time I've clicked Recover or Roost or anything like that so many times is just to stall out something. So at the end of the day, it is just to get rid of that mechanic and make things a little bit more skill-based again, which I do like. Like I said, Hail was replaced by Snowscape, which boosted the defense of Ice types the same way Sandstorm boosted special defense of Rock types. Most of Gen 8 tutor moves are gone. Triple Axle, Poltergeist, Scorching Sands, Burning Jealousy, all that stuff is gone. And the ones that there are a few, and the ones that are, there are a few rarely distributed. So a lot of Pokemon that, or a lot of moves that are gone, some of them that haven't been gone, I mean, are rare, distributed very far in between to certain Pokemon. So you don't have to worry about that too much. Like Pokemon like the move Grassy Glide is still in the game, obviously. Like Rillaboom will get it when it is reintroduced. We're also going to be talking about a lot of Pokemon that are going to be introduced probably through raid events or through Pokemon Home once it comes out. They're already in the code of the game. They're in the game. We'll be talking about those as well. So, of course, if you don't want any spoilers of any Pokemon that are coming in Pokemon Home or in raid events in the future, don't watch this video, if that makes any sense. So, yeah. So, Salamence with dual wing beat, so, that still gets that. I would still go over the most, so he'll still go over the most noteworthy examples. Aromatherapy, Magico, and Power Up Punch are all gone. Aromatherapy, I don't think is that big of a deal. Magico is not really that big of a deal. Power Up Punch is a little crazy. That's gone. That being a move that obviously boosts your attack after every time you use it, kind of like the physical version of Torch Song introduced in this generation, which is Skeldurge's, you know, signature move. I don't know why that's gone. Doesn't really make too much of a difference, to be honest. Usually fighting types have a better fighting type moves. Usually don't run Power Punch too much anyways. Headlong Rush is now a ground type close combat, which I believe that it was a move introduced in Legends Arceus. I think Ursaluna got that. I could be wrong. But basically 120 base power and lowers your defense and special defense when you use it. Pretty self-explanatory. Wave Crash is now a water type Flare Blitz / Wood Hammer, completing the starter trio. So obviously it does more, it does a very big amount of damage, and then like 120 base power, 110, something like that. And it does recoil depending on the amount of damage that you do. Same with both Flare Blitz and Wood Hammer. I think it's kind of cool. I don't personally love the recoil stuff, but you know, it is what it is. Raging Fury is a fire type outrage. I think that's really cool. Pokemon like Arcanine get that, and it's basically just like outrage. You do it until it gets confused. So that's kind of cool. Dire Claw is an 80 base power move that's a 16%, 46% with Poison Touch chance to inflict poison, plus 60% chance to inflict paralysis, and 16% chance to inflict sleep. So it's kind of like Effect Spore in that. In that regards, I do believe that was the signature move of Sneasler, that's what I was trying to say. Trailblaze is a grass type flame charge, obviously raising your speed every time you use it. Ice Spinner is an 80 base power physical move that removes terrain, which is actually really cool. It's kind of like Steel Roller, except for the fact that I don't think it's as powerful. I don't think it does more damage if there's a terrain, but it's cool that it removes terrain. Axe Kick is like Jump Kick, I think he meant High Jump Kick. 120 base power with a chance to confuse. It still has, so it has a chance to confuse the target, I think. And it still has recoil if it misses, which is not great, but I believe Axe Kick is the signature move of low kicks. So Last Respects is a physical ghost type move that gets stronger 1.5 depending on damage, how many team members are dead. Obviously that is not a lot of Pokemon get that, but one notable one is Houndstone that has been banned in singles OU for Gen 9 in Showdown, but not for doubles. So do with that what you wish. Chilling Waters is a 50 base power special move that always lowers special attack or lowers attack. Scald Replacement is basically the same thing as Scald, except for the fact that it lowers attack instead of burns. Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's that good, to be honest with you guys. I really don't. Grassy Glide, when eventually returns, got nerfed from 70 to 60 base power, which actually sucks. Like, 10 base power isn't that bad, but the thing is that 10 base power could 100% be the difference between a knockout and a not. I don't understand why it deserved to get nerfed 10 base points. I think it was really good, but honestly, it was really easy to play around, since a Pokemon who got it almost always went for it, and if you had a Pokemon that resisted it, you did. If you didn't, you didn't. I mean, that's your fault in general. I don't know why it was nerfed at all, but alright. Sleep and unfortunately Freeze are here to stay, with Frostbite being stuck in Legends Arceus. That's fine. Ally Switch is nerfed so that it works more like Protect. Also has a lot less distribution this time. I think what he means by it works like Protect is the fact that you can't use it twice, or you have a very low chance of using it twice, which honestly works in benefit. Charizard loses Scorching Sands, Defog, and Roost, right? Scorching Sands, it is what it is, but Defog and Roost, that's a big loss. The fact that it can't defog away hazards, being one Pokemon that takes 4 times damage from Stealth Rocks, it cannot even come in with heavy duty boots and then defog it away as it used to be able to do. And that's really sucks that it can. A lot of Pokemon actually lost defog, which in a metagame right now where hazards are so big and so powerful, I cannot believe that so many Pokemon lost access to defog. And a lot of good Pokemon that got access to Rapid Spin, like Excadrill, aren't even in the game anymore. So that sucks. Roost is also pretty big for this thing because it no longer has... I think it does still get access to Drain Punch, but unless you run it physical, it really doesn't get a good way of healing, which sucks. Alone Raichu, it looks like it gets Draining Kiss. Don't really think that's going to be... Don't know why, but okay. Wigglytuff gets Nasty Plot. That could be cool. I don't know who's using Wigglytuff, but... Dugtrio gets Swords Dance, so that's kind of cool, I will say. Golduck gets Nasty Plot and Power Gem. The latter should have been done already. And Grass Knot too, right? Nasty Plot is pretty cool for this Pokemon. Power Gem is what it is. Grass Knot's kind of cool for this Pokemon. But I think Nasty Plot's pretty big. Primeape, and by extension Ninetale, get Stealth Rock. That's kind of a weird addition. Maybe it's just a kind of more widely distributed Stealth Rock. I think that's really cool though, and I'm really excited to try out using Eviolite Primeape. I've wanted to do that since I heard that it got the evolution, so that's pretty cool. But Stealth Rock is what it is, so I think it's cool that they get it. Hisuian Arcanine gets Stab Head Smash. Justified hidden ability has been replaced by Rockhead. This is huge, right? I love Hisuian Arcanine, and I shiny hunted for one for so long and finally got one in Legends Arceus. I'm so excited to bring it over, and the fact that you can actually run a hidden ability Rockhead one now is so cool. Rockhead obviously being the ability that makes it so you do not take recoil damage. You can just get a Stab Head Smash and take no recoil damage. The only other Pokemon that are able to do that in general is Tyrantrum. Right? I mean, does Steelix get Rockhead? I think or Angola maybe? Well, I don't know. The Pokemon that gets that get Rockhead, I don't know if they get access to Head Smash, but that's insane that you can take no damage from Head Smash Arcanine. That's super cool. Super cool. Extreme Speed, also really awesome. Close Combat, Psychic Fangs, and Morning Sun. That's really cool. Obviously gives it healing priority there, and I just think it's just really, really cool moveset. Regular Arcanine also gets Raging Fury, but loses Safeguard and Toxic, right? Raging Fury is cool, like I said. Losing Safeguard and Toxic. Safeguard is what it is. Toxic sucks a little bit, but honestly, not very many people run Toxic on Arcanine, so I think that's fine. Slowbro and by association Slowking lose Teleport and Scald. That's huge for both of these Pokemon. Almost every single set of Slowbro that I have seen runs Teleport and Scald. The fact that you will no longer be able to run this, I definitely think that it's going to make Slowbro less used in the competitive scene if it's used at all. So I think it'll still get the use. Every Pokemon's still going to find its spot again in the competitive scene. But I do think that losing Teleport and Scald are very, very big for this Pokemon. Not so much in singles, or not so much in doubles, but in singles, Teleport is huge. And this Pokemon not being able to get it definitely sucks. And Scald, you're going to be forced to run something like Hydro Pump on this Pokemon if it gets it, which I think it does. So it sucks. Regular Muck gets Toxic Spikes and Drain Punch. And Alolan Muck gets Drain Punch. You know, that's cool. Drain Punch is cool. I think Toxic Spikes for a Muck is going to make it so it's used a lot more. Don't know why it didn't get it in the first place, but I think it's cool that it gets it now. Gengar lost Sludge Wave, but gets Toxic Spikes. Losing Sludge Wave kind of sucks for this Pokemon. I mean, it gets access to Gunk Shot and Sludge Bomb and stuff, so losing Sludge Wave isn't the worst, but it definitely does suck. Toxic Spikes is pretty cool that this Pokemon got. I encountered one in competitive the other day, and I saw it use Toxic Spikes, and I was super confused, because I was like, did it have that before? I don't think it did. So I think this Pokemon being a fast, a fast Focus Sash Toxic Spike setter upper, I think is really cool. I don't know how much this is going to be used, but it is what it is. Scyther and by association Scizor and Cleaver all keep close combat. That is so awesome. When I heard that some Pokemon weren't going to be getting access to the moves that they learned in Legends Arceus, I was sad. But the fact that these Pokemon get close combat is so awesome, and I love that so much. They also, but they lose Dual Wing Beat, Bug Bite, Roost, and Knockoff. So Dual Wing Beat definitely sucks a little bit, especially for Scyther, not getting another stab physical flying type move except for like Wing Attack. And it doesn't get Technician, but Scizor does. Bug Bite definitely sucks for Scizor, like I said, with Technician. It definitely sucks. Roost was really good on these Pokemon too, and that sucks. Knockoff really sucks for Scizor, I can tell you that. That really sucks that you can no longer run, Like, I've seen literally all 4 of those moves on one Scizor. I've seen Dual Wing Beat, Bug Bite, Roost, and Knockoff on one single Scizor. Like, that's an entire Scizor set that you can't even run anymore. But it is what it is. You still get Bullet Punch. You still get a lot of that stuff. So I still think Scizor is going to be used a lot. I'm also really excited to use Cleavor. But Gyarados loses Power Whip, which sucks. That's so bad for Gyarados, right? The fact that, it really is. The fact that, a Rock type could come out against it or something, it just really, really sucks. I think that it did having that move did a lot for that Pokemon, and now that you can't run it just sucks, I think, in my opinion. All evolutions get Calm Mind and Trailblaze, but lose Weather Ball. Okay, so Weather Ball, not the biggest deal, except for maybe Vaporeon and Rain and Flareon in Fire, right? And Sun, right? Not really that big of a deal. I don't think that Trailblaze is going to be that big on any of these Pokemon. Calm Mind, on the other hand, the fact that Espeon and Sylveon were the only 2 that got that, Umbreon might have, the fact that they all get it now, I think is really cool. And the fact that I can run Calm Mind Jolteon is really, really neat. Vaporeon loses Toxic and Scald. Not being able to Toxic Stall with Vaporeon is fine. Scald obviously sucks on this thing. Really, now you're kind of stuck to what? Hydro Pump? I think Vaporeon is going to see much less use in competitive now than it did before. Jolteon loses Weather Ball. Well, it says that they lost Weather Ball. Okay, Flareon loses Superpower. Not really that big of a deal. Galarian, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres all get Tailwind. Galarian, Zapdos lost Blaze Kick and Steel Wing, though. Okay, so Tailwind on these Pokemon, super cool, right? Obviously, their other ones get Tailwind, and I was always sad that these ones didn't get Tailwind because they have wings they should be. So it's really awesome that they do get it. Galarian Zapdos losing Blaze Kick is pretty big because now it no longer has Fire-type stab. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal, but I always ran Blaze Kick on it, so it sucks that it doesn't get it. Steel Wing, not really that big of a deal. Articuno loses Defog and Mind Reader, so all three of the regular birds lose Defog, which sucks, right? Again, like Moltres being another Pokemon that takes 4 times damage, your Stealth Rock can no longer get rid of it. And I think a lot of people, a big heavy duty boots Defog set was really big, and Defog losing from Zapdos is also really big. I think the fact that they don't get it really sucks. Zapdos lost Weather Ball, not too big of a deal, and Articuno lost Mind Reader, which is not really that big of a deal. But Moltres looks like it still has Weather Ball, so it looks like you can still run, you know, a Weather Ball Moltres in the rain, which I've done before. Dragonite loses Defog, Dual Wing Beat, and Heal Bell, but gets Ice Spinner. Losing Defog kind of sucks, but not too big of a deal. Dual Wing Beat's pretty big that this thing lost, but we went so far without having it, we can go longer without it. Heal Bell, not really that big of a deal. Ice Spinner is kind of cool that this thing gets, so I still think I'd probably rather run Ice Punch, but Ice Spinner is cool that it gets. Mew loses Knockoff, Roost, Defog, Toxic Teleport, and I think he means Roost, not Roat. Mew losing, most of this really sucks for this Pokemon, but it is what it is, and you can learn anything. The fact that I can't run Knockoff Roost is kind of fine. Roost and Defog, I think, in Toxic are the 3 big ones, but honestly, it is what it is. Mewtwo gets access to Earth Power and Power Gem. Power Gem I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. If anything, Earth Power will be kind of cool because Mewtwo is a special attacker. And it got access to Earthquake, I think, but it didn't get access to Earth Power. So Earth Power having this one is pretty cool. I like it. Let's see, we got a lot to go over here, guys, so buckle up. Okay. Hisuian Typhlosion now learns Eruption and Focus Blast. His hidden ability is now Frisk replacing Flash Fire. There's so much to talk about here, right? Not having Flash Fire really sucks, right? Frisk, it is what it is, but it can learn Eruption. It can learn Eruption, guys. I repeat, I remember when I heard that it would not be able to use it. I was really sad, but the fact that it does get Eruption is so awesome, and I think this thing is going to see a lot of use in the competitive scene, just coming in and just blowing up everywhere with Eruption. I think it's really cool. Also gets Focus Blast. I think that's really neat too. So, of course, if you're going to use a Ghost type move and they want to switch a normal type in, you can be like, got you. And I was going to say something, but I can't say that in a family-friendly channel. So he was going to be like, got you. And then, you know, Focus Blast and hit it. I think it's really cool. Ampharos gets Dazzling Gleam. Okay. Not really that big of a deal. Jumpluff gets Tailwind, Pollen Puff, and Dazzling Gleam. I think this will make Jumpluff a little bit more useful, the fact that he gets Tailwind and Pollen Puff, especially in doubles. Quagsire gets Stealth Rock, Spikes, and Toxic Spikes, but loses Scald. Okay, so Quagsire, I think, is no longer going to be... It does still get access to Toxic, looks like. So it does look like it's going to be more of a support, and having Stealth Rocks and Spikes is really cool. Toxic Spikes is a little weird for this thing to get, but it does get it, and I think it'll be used a lot more. Losing Scald is pretty big for this Pokemon, pretty big, so I think it's not going to run Water-type moves, if anything, but yeah. Espeon finally gets Power Gem. Don't really think that's that big of a deal. Umbreon gets Thunder Wave, but loses Toxic. Umbreon losing Toxic is kind of big, but Thunder Wave is kind of cool. Scizor gets Close Combat, but loses Root. Yeah, okay, we already talked about that. Fortress gets Body Press, which is kind of cool. Honestly, I think like a really cool Hazard set with Body Press would be neat. Donphan gets Ice Spinner, which is, it is what it is. Blissey lost Toxic Wish and Teleport. Blissey is mark my words, Blissey is no longer going to be a Pokemon that you see on a staple of everybody's team. I think that probably means that Chansey loses it as well, but I don't know. But the fact that Blissey can no longer come in and Toxic and Wish is really good. And Teleport, but the Toxic losing on Blissey is pretty big. I think that's going to stop a lot of stall moves. Tyranitar gets Power Gem, but loses High Horsepower, Superpower, Rock Polish, Roar, and Toxic. Not really anything to totally note here. It does suck that it gets that it loses High Horsepower, but you can give it other ground type moves if you want. Earthquake, Superpower is not really that bad. Rock Polish isn't that bad. Roar kind of sucks. I've used Roar and Tyranitar a few times. Toxic, don't see too many people using Toxic Tyranitar. Power Gem, I mean, I guess if you want to use a special Tyranitar, but Pelipper loses Defog and Scald. Of course, okay, again, Pelipper being one of the only rain setters in the game, actually, currently is what? The only rain setter in the game? Because Politoed's not in it? So, the fact that the only rain center doesn't get access to Defog anymore kind of sucks. Scald is not that bad. I would run Hydro Pump over it, but losing Defog kind of sucks for this thing. Gardevoir keeps Aura Sphere from Legends Arceus if you don't like using Focus Blast Miss, but loses Ally Switch as well as Recover and Ice Beam also from Legends Arceus. Gallade also loses Ally Switch. I think that this thing not getting access to Recover kind of sucks. But it losing Ally Switch and Ice Beam it is what it is. Gallade losing Ally Switch is what it is. Nothing like huge there. Gallade got a pretty big buff, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. Masquerain gets Hurricane. I think that's really cool, especially if you want to run this thing on a rain team with sticky webs and stuff. I think this is pretty cool. Brilliant finally gets close combat, which is awesome. Gunk Shot and Bulldoze. I think Gunk Shot might be useful at some point, but I don't know. Bulldoze, I don't really see unless you want to activate like a weakness policy. But getting close combat is really nice. I still think I probably would rather run Drain Punch, but Hariyama gets Drain Punch and Headlong Rush. I think that's really cool for this Pokemon because Belly Drum Drain Punch allows it to get a lot of health back. I think it's really nice. Headlong Rush, again, is another, ground type Flare Blitz, or ground type close combat. So I think that's actually pretty cool that it gets that. Sableye gets Giga Drain, Reflect, and Light Screen. I don't know where I've been, but I thought Sableye got Reflect and Light Screen already. So, I guess it didn't, but it does now. Giga Drain is kind of cool. Metacham gets Axe Kick, Close Combat, and Trail Blitz. Finally, Metacham gets a good physical type move that I don't have to worry about the missing with Close Combat. That's pretty nice. Trail Blitz is a weird move for it to get, but I can run like huge power Close Combat. That's nice. You're gonna see me use that here on the channel or something. Grumpig gets Nasty Plot from BDSP, Dazzling Gleam, and Earthbound, which I think are all really good moves for this thing, and I think I'll see it being used a little bit more. Swallow gets Stuffed Cheeks, Body Press, Swords Dance, and Toxic Spikes. None of this is... Swallow's not a good Pokemon. Other than the fact that he gets Toxic Spikes. I mean, maybe it'll be alright, but... Zangoose gets Agility. That could be kind of cool, I guess, maybe in some situations. Banette gets Swords Dance. I think that's neat. It doesn't get its Mega anymore. But... I think that would be cool. Tropius gets Hurricane and U-Turn. I think Hurricane's pretty big for this Pokemon. U-Turn, not so much, because that's a physical type move and a special type move, but it is what it is. Groudon loses Heat Crash, but gains Crunch, Spikes, Will-O-the-Wisp, and Body Press. Heat Crash sucks a little bit, but not too bad. Getting Crunch, though, is really cool, and the fact that now it gets Spikes, and you can use it as a hazard setter, now they get Spikes and Stealth Rock. Will-O-the-Wisp is pretty cool for this Pokemon. Body Press is what it is. Rayquaza gets U-Turn, Stealth Rock, and Wild Charge, loses V-Create. Nothing here really stands out to me. Nobody's going to be using Rayquaza as a Stealth Rocker, I don't think. Maybe. But losing V-Create kind of sucks, but at the end of the day, it's fine. It's fine. Luxray gets Trailblaze, but loses Superpower. Okay, so that's fine. I mean, it does kind of suck, because I do like Luxray, but... losing Superpower isn't that bad, and getting a grass type move could be cool to hit like an oncoming ground type or something like that. Vespiquen gets Spikes, which I think is kind of cool, but at the same time I don't really think it's gonna make it that much of more used. Floatzel gets Wave Crash and Ice Spinner. I think this is going to make Floatzel used quite a bit more, in my opinion. It's already being used a little bit more. And having Wave Crash as a 120 base physical type attack in the rain is pretty cool. Gastrodon loses Scald and Toxic, but gets Stealth Rock, Spikes, and Chilling Water. I didn't know it didn't get Stealth Rock already, but honestly, this thing is pretty cool. I don't think it's going to benefit from Chilling Water too much. I mean, I think I'll probably just run Hydro Pump. Toxic, at the end of the day, a lot of them did run Toxic, so getting rid of it's cool. I never ran it. I was more of a Scald, Earth Power, Recover, Protect set. It does still get Recover, though. So at least it says here it does. So that's kind of cool. Driplim lost Mystical Fire, but does finally get Stab Air Slash. That's awesome. I think Driplim finally is going to, really appreciate from Stab Air Slash. Honchkrow loses Superpower. Not that big of a deal. Garchomp gets Spikes in Liquidation, but loses Scale Shot and Roar. Scale Shot, again, not the biggest deal that it loses. It does kind of suck because it's a good move on it, but at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. And then Spikes in Liquidation. Spikes is kind of cool on this thing. Don't know who's going to be using Liquidation and Garchomp, and I don't know why it gets it, but it could be kind of cool, actually. Lucario loses Mach Punch from Legends Arceus, which kind of sucks. Toxicroak keeps Close Combat from Legends Arceus, which I think is really, really nice. Still think Drain Punch is better on this thing, but, Close Combat could be kind of cool. Weavile loses Triple Axle and Knockoff, and even Throat Chop against Ice Spinner. Okay. Knockoff? Why? Why? My amazing set for Weavile is now gone, and I'm going to be forced to run Ice Punch and Night Slash over Triple Axle and Knockoff. Like, come on, bro. Like, why didn't it get it anymore? Like, why Knockoff did it lose? I guess Ice Spinner, I'll run over Ice Punch, but still. But here's what I really wanted to talk about. Gallade now has the ability Sharpness, which increases the power of slashing moves by 1.5 times, like Psycho Cut, Sacred Sword, which he now has access to, Night Slash, Shadow Claw, Leaf Blade, and Aqua Cutter. It also gets agility, but come on, like, you can use Gallade that's actually going to be almost like a Choice Band, like, increase from, like, a Choice Band. So if you run Sharpness Choice Band, you're going to have a +3 boost for all of these moves. Like, that's so cool. I love that. I think that's absolutely awesome. Frostlass lost Triple Axle and Poltergeist. That's kind of big for this thing, but at the end of the day, it is Frostlass, so... Uxie itself, a Mesprit's signature move, Mystical Power, is now a 70 base power special stab move that increases special attack. So... I don't know if they had that before Legends Arceus? Maybe? I don't know. Dialga, now you learns Trick and Focus Blast. Focus Blast I think is really cool. Trick might come in handy, and now Palkia learns Trick as well. That might come in handy, but I don't know. Heatran gets Power Gem, but loses Toxic and Eruption. I'm pretty sad that this thing loses Eruption. Like, I loved using Eruption Heatran, and now I'm going to be forced to run, like, Lava Plume, Fiery, or Magma Storm, or a Flamethrower. But losing Eruption is pretty big for this thing. But Cresselia got a stat nerf. 10 base points for both of its descent stats. 130 and 120 to 110 and 120. What? Again, another big thing about Cresselia is that it's super bulky, and now it's just less bulky? Is that, again, to prevent stall? I don't know. Arceus now learns Healing Wish, Hydro Pump, Taunt, Imprison, Bulk Up, Dragon Dance, Flare Blitz, Power Gem, Gunk Shot, Heavy Slam, Foul Play, Storage Power, Hex, Hurricane, Body Prints, and, but it lost Whirlpool. That's pretty cool that it learns all these different moves. Obviously, does it get Headlong Rush? Is that what it said? No, it gets Flare Blitz, but not Headlong Rush or anything. I think it's really cool, especially because it can be, any type. I think that's pretty cool. Hisuian Samurai also has Sharpness, places Shell Armor, which is pretty cool, and gets Knockoff, Sucker Punch, Sacred Sword, Mega Horn, and Drill Run. Ceaseless Edge now lays Spikes. Already has Aqua Jet and Swords Hits. That's really cool that it lays Spikes when it hits. That's actually really, really cool. There's another move that does that as well, but that's just a really, really cool thing, and I think that's going to be used quite a lot. Regular Samurai finally gets Drill Run, which I don't know if that is really too worth it, but I mean, it is that. Hisuian Lilligant's Victory Dance is a physical quiver dance, also gets Ice Spinner Defog. I think you're going to see Hisuian Lilligant used a lot, because the fact that it's a physical quiver dance, that's so cool! That's so cool. I'm so excited for that. It gets Ice Spinner too, so like, it's grass fighting, so if like a flying type wants to come in on it, it just Ice Spinners it? Like, come on, that's awesome. Basculin, the red and blue stripe, also gets Stab, Wave Crash. That's kind of cool. Crocodile loses High Horsepower and Knockoff. Lost Darkest Lariat too, but gains Gunk Shot. That really sucks for this thing. Knockoff and Darkest Lariat are big on this Pokemon, and it doesn't get it but it gains Skunk Shot, which I don't think is that big. We still got quite a bit more to go. Okay, so Hisuian Zoroark got both its special attack and speed nerfed by 5 points, 125 and 102 to 120, and then 110 to 105. In other words, stats are the same as Unovian Zoroark. It does get Body Slam, Hyper Voice, Focus Blast, and Trick. Honestly, I think that's fine. Like, it just sucks that it gets decreased, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Sawsbuck now gets Body Slam, Zen Headbutt, Play Rough. It already has Wild Charge and Stopping Punch from before. That is what it is. I think that might make it a little bit more useful now that it gets like Play Rough. But Lumbamola loses Scald. Again, sucks. Electros gets Stomping Tantrum, Liquidation, Close Combat, but loses Knockoff. Nobody really runs physical Electros that I've seen. So, I mean, it's cool that it gets Stomping Tantrum and Liquidation and Close Combat. Maybe I'll have to use physical one. I always just ran special, but Hexorus now gets Iron Head, which is kind of cool. Beartic gets Earthquake and Close Combat. I think this is going to be awesome for this Pokemon, especially in the snow with Slush Rush. I think it's going to be really, really awesome. I think it's going to make it used a lot more. Bisharp loses Knockoff, which really sucks, because now King Gambit can't run Knockoff, but Hisuian Braviary replaces Defiant with Tinted Lens. Again, kind of sucks. Asper Wing increases speed. It also gets U-Turn, Roost, and Defog. I think this thing will be used quite a bit because of the amount of Pokemon that lost Roost and Defog, so I think it'll be used quite a bit. U-Turn is also pretty cool. Asper Wing increases speed is nice. Hydreigon loses Roost and Defog, but now learns Stealth Rock. Again, another Defog and Roost Pokemon. Well, I don't really see many Hydreigon using either of those, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But now it learns Stealth Rock, which don't understand why, but okay. Maybe to more just to be the hazards. Volcarona also loses Roost and Defog, but it still has Morning Sun. Does suck that it loses Defog, because again, 4 times speed to Stealth Rocks, but it still has Morning Sun for healing, so it doesn't sound awful. The Forces of Nature lose Superpower, Explosion, Dig, and Toxic, that's the Genies, and Knockoff. Landorus gets Nasty Plot and Taunt. The fact that these don't get Defog and Knockoff really suck, especially for Landorus. Nasty Plot, though, is really cool that Landorus gets. I think you'll be seeing a lot of Landorus Therians running Nasty Plot, and Taunt is well as cool. Chestnut gets Close Combat, Body Press, Super Fang, and Wide Guard. The fact that it gets Close Combat's really cool. I think that's going to make it be a lot better. Delphox gets Focus Blast and Nasty Plot. I think that's pretty cool, too. Greninja gets Swords Dance and Liquidation. But too late, because Protean and Libero got nerfed so that it only works once per switch in. Let's talk about that right now. That's going to make Cinderace and Greninja way less used. The fact that their best abilities just got nerfed so that you can only use them on the first turn out, that sucks. You're going to have to really play around the fact that you're only going to be able to use that move one time when it first comes out to change its typing, unless you terrestrialize it. So that does suck. And also loses Scald. And in case you're wondering, Ash Greninja is gone, although there's an Easter egg. Battle Bond just increases special attack and speed now. Okay, so let's talk about that. Battle Bond is still in the game. You can still run Battle Bond. But it's kind of unclear how special attack and speed is going to work. Is it just going to be the first time it comes out? Or because it's the ability, is it going to have an increase in special attack and speed every single time it comes out, making it an absurdly powerful Pokemon? That's what I want to know. We don't really know yet, but that's pretty freaking cool. That's pretty cool. Sylveon loses Mystical Fire and Weather Ball. Which Mystical Fire does kind of suck for this thing, but it is what it is. Hisuian Goodra replaces Overcoat with Shell Armor. Shelter is also an Iron Defense clone, which is fine. Also gets Flash Cannon and Body Press. I mean, Flash Cannon is kind of cool because it's a Steel type. Carbink gets Spikes. I don't care. The fact that I didn't get Spikes in the beginning is kind of stupid. It's Carbink. Nobody's really going to be using Carbink. Both Avalugg now have Icicle Crash, which I think is really cool. Diancie gets Spikes, which honestly could make Diancie more of a hazard setter, which is kind of cool. Talonflame actually keeps Defog, so he said something about somebody losing. I don't think he ever said Talonflame loses Defog, but it better keep it. Hisuian Decidueye. I'm trying to see how much. Okay. Hisuian Decidueye keeps gets Defog, Roost, Close Combat, Trailblaze, Knockoff, Sucker Punch, and Shadow Sneak. Triple Arrows is now 90 base power, and Scrappy is its new hidden ability. I think that's really cool, making it so it can hit Ghost types. With its Ghost, or yeah, hit. Right, yeah. It hits hits Ghost types with normal type moves. So, I mean, I think it'll hit Close Combat. I think Close Combat will hit Ghost types, which is kind of cool. Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak is pretty neat too. I think this Pokemon will be used quite a bit, I think. First, regular Decidueye lost Poltergeist, obviously, which sucks. Oricorio gets Quiver Dance by itself. That's pretty neat. I think this thing might, I think Oricorio might actually be used more, particularly because of that. Lycanroc Midnight loses Sucker Punch, kinda sucks. Toxapex loses Knockoff and Scald, also pretty big for the Pokemon, but it is what it is. Mudsdale finally gets Stone Edge, which is cool. Lurantis loses Superpower. So they finally have taken a contrary mon and nerfed it, which is big to me, because I hated it. Salazzle got Toxic Spikes, which is pretty neat, that it finally gets that. Serena loses Triple Axle and Knockoff. I think that's going to make it so you don't see Serena as much as you used to. Palossand loses Scorching Sands, not that big of a deal. Komala loses Last Resort. It got Ice Spinner though. Again, not that big of a deal. Bruxish gets Wave Crash. Again, I think you'll see Bruxish more. I think that's cool. Magearna gets Spikes. Again, nobody's running Spikes on Magearna, but if you want to, you have the option now. Okay, last little bit. Rillaboom loses Grassy Glide. Just want to point that out there. The Pokemon that benefited the most from this move. The Pokemon that sets up the grassy terrain and just can Grassy Glide around loses the move. It loses High Horsepower and Superpower. I do believe I see Rillaboom hardly at all anymore, strictly because of the Grassy Glide and High Horsepower loss. Grassy Glide's huge. Maybe they thought it was overpowered, but the fact that this Pokemon doesn't get anymore, it sucks a lot. Cinderace gets Swords Dance, but it's too late. Said it before, I'll say it again, because Protein Liberating got nerfed. Okay, so Swords Dance, I think, is pretty cool for this thing. Dreadnought now gets Shell Smash, which is pretty cool. Ice Spinner, and Ice Spinner, too. It did lose High Horsepower, Superpower, and Mega Horn, but it is what it is. I think Shell Smash is really cool on this Pokemon. I think you'll see it be used more. Colossal now gets Power Gem, but loses Scald. That's fine. I think having Power Gem is actually really, really cool. And now a more special type move that you can give it if you want to run it, especially. Scald, it doesn't suck as much. Barrascuda loses Flip Turn. I think that sucks quite a bit. Hatterene loses Expanding Force, which that honestly is cool. Actually, if you guys didn't know, the only Pokemon that gets Expanding Force at all is now Armarouge, which I've run Armarouge and it's insane, but Indeedee doesn't get it anymore either, like it says. It also loses Mystical Fire. So I think Indeedee is not going to be used as much, except to set it up. But Grimmsnarl gets a Parting Shot. For some reason I thought it got it before, but Berserker gets Stealth Rock. Also don't know why that didn't get it before. Dragapult loses Scald and Steel Wing. Not really that big of a deal. Zacian and Zazamenta both got their abilities nerfed. Their Dauntless Shield and Intrepid Sword only works once per battle, so that's cool. And it got Zacian got his attack drop from got his attacks drop from 130 and 170 to 120 and 150, which that's kind of good. And Zazamenta got its defense or its attack drop from 130 to 120, and its defense drops from 145 to 140. So, but it gets Body Press. At the same time, I think this nerfs them a little bit. They were pretty overpowered in the last generation. I'm not really mad about that. Eternatus gets Fire Blast, which is kind of cool. Urshifu gets Swords Dance, but Wicked Blow is weakened from 80 to 75. Honestly, the fact that this thing gets Swords Dance and now you can is really, really awesome. And you don't have to rely on Bulk Up to raise your attack. I'm really excited about that. I'm not gonna lie, that's really, really cool. So Rude gets Swords Dance and Trailblaze. It does lose Darkness Lariat and still no knockoff or Sucker Punch. So it doesn't. It did lose Darkness Lariat, which really sucks. So you gotta run Crunch, but I think Swords Dance will be cool in this one. Regieleki gets Charge Beam, which I think is really neat. The fact that it now actually gets another Electric type move besides Thunder and Thunderbolt that are actually worth running. Reggie Draco gets Earthquake and Earth Power. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool too. Glacier and Calyrex Ice both lose high horsepower. Also still no Earthquake. And Glacial Lance is weakened from 130 to 120. Spectraria gets Draining Kiss. I think that the weakened Glacial Lance is also really cool because, again, very overpowered. No Astral Barrage weakness though, which is kind of weird. Okay, so Weirdeer gets Body Slam, Side Shock, Earthquake, Earth Power, Trailblaze, Agility, Thunder Wave, Reflect, Light Screen, Trick, and Trick Room. I think Weirdeer you'll see used quite a bit on Trick Room teams, especially since it can learn Trick Room and Reflect and Light Screen. The fact that it gets Earthquake is kind of cool. It also gets high horsepower. Okay, no, but he loses high horsepower. And Side Shield bashes 70 base power, 90% accurate move that always increases defense, which is kind of cool. Cleaver Stone Axe, 65 base power, now lays Stealth Rocks, which is really neat. I think that's super cool, and I actually think you'll see it used quite a bit. But it gets close combat, U-turn, Night Slash, and Psycho Cut, and has the Sharpness ability, replaces Steadfast, which again, it also took 5 points from his attack and moved it to his special defense, but I think is really, really cool. I think 130 attack is still really, really awesome, especially with the Sharpness. Ursaluna now learns Facade, Earthquake, Close Combat, Gunk Shot, Play Rough, Crunch, Trailblaze, Taunt, Bulk Up, Swords Dance, Belly Drum, and even Drain Punch, which is really cool. This thing, I think will be really, really awesome, especially with Guts. Drain Punch is just really cool. This thing, I think, is going to be really, really good in general. I'm excited to use it. Basket Legion replaces Rattled with Swift Swim and gets Last Respects. Last Respects being one of the only other Pokemon to get Last Respects, if the only other one besides Houndstone. And I think Swift Swim is a really cool ability for this thing. I think you'll see it used quite a bit in the raid. Sneasler also has the Unburden ability, and now learns Swords Dance, Acrobatics, Rock Slide, Fire Punch, Fake Out, U-turn, and Stab Gunk Shot. That's awesome. Swords Dance is really cool for this thing. Acrobatic, especially if you want to run like Citrus Berry or stuff like that, I think is really, really cool. And Gunk Shot, Stab Gunk Shot is really nice. Overquill will now learn Crunch, Gunk Shot, Aqua Jet, Liquidation, Waterfall, Swords Dance, Taunt Spikes, and Toxic Spikes. I think it's really cool that you can run either a support set with Taunt Spikes and Toxic Spikes, or more of an offensive one, and it's not even a water type, but gets Aqua Jet and Waterfall, which is really cool. Onivrus gets Superpower and Focus Blast, which is really, really neat. Did I miss the one? Did I miss the one where it talks about their moves? The Force of Nature's moves. I think because it talked about it. Because they're the storm moves that they get. The storm moves that they get they're in here somewhere. Okay, right here. Okay, so I think I only missed this, but Bleak Wind Storm, Wind Bolt Storm, Sandseeker Storm, and Springtide Storm are all 100 base power, 80% accurate signature special moves. I think this is really cool, especially for like land and stuff like that. But that is all the new stuff that's in these games, the new buffs and stuff like that. Again, if you guys want to look over this for yourself, the link to this website will be down in below. But yeah, again, let me know what you guys think about all this stuff. I think a lot of things are changing, and I'm really excited for it.